Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the 14th episode of the interview with Professor Frans Rupert. And this is brought to you live from Oslo, Norway. Hello, Frans.
Hello, Christina.
Thank you for making time today. Yeah. Frans, one of your trauma classifications is traumatization by violence. Can you define the word violence and is rage, aggression, and anger part of it?
Violence, you can act it out as a physical violence, slapping somebody, kicking somebody, or maybe in the end killing someone. On the other hand, you can do it at a psychological level, humiliating somebody by words, or lying. Also, this is also a sort of violence. It's not telling you the truth, and you do something and then you fail. So there's different acts of violence, and the violence we feel in ourselves as aggressiveness, rage, even when we end up in hate.
Okay. So what are some evident effects it has on children who either experience the violence and those who witness violence? For example, seeing their parents or siblings being physically abused, or being ill-treated or mistreated.
Yeah, it puts a lot of stress firsthand on yourself if you are violated by words or by deeds. And if the violence is so big that you cannot tolerate it, then you have to, it's a trauma, then you have to split it off and you have to dissociate it and you have to vanish in a way. Your eye vanishes and the body stays. And especially for children, when the parents are violent, for them it's such a big contradiction, because you expect from the parents that they protect you, that they love you, that they give you orientation. And if you see your parents being violent and experience the violence, that is impossible to for a child to take in the self-concept. So you have to split it off. And the same if the child sees that the sister or brother is beaten by the parents, and of course they want to protect them. Of course, sometimes they want to offer themselves as a victim to be beaten in order to protect their siblings. So there is a very complicated dynamic, and it's all out of the trauma, out of your love. If you love as a child, you love your parents, you love your siblings. And if you see them being violated, then you want to help them, to support them. And in a way, then some of the children start to sacrifice their own health, of their own life, in order to protect the mother or the siblings.
So you feel that in terms of health-wise, the physical symptoms may start to arise? Through your experience, what are some of the physical symptoms from physical violence at home from children, or maybe to the adult when they grow up? What are some of the general symptoms that you normally see in your practice?
Yeah, it depends on the type of violence. For example, if you get hurt in the neck, and then afterwards, later in life, you still may have neck headaches, or the body is aching because you could not, in the moment when the violence happened, you could not deal with it. You have to split it off, so it remains as a memory in the body, as a pattern of reaction in your body. And maybe you're always have the sensation still, and because it's so many years back, you do not realize where it comes from. And then you start to treat it medically, or you see the doctors, and it doesn't help because it is the aftermath of a trauma.
Physical trauma. And I think, if I don't remember wrongly, the last time I spoke with you, you were saying that, for most people who has rain in the ears, very likely it is from a physical violence as well.
It's all sorts of body symptoms can because you have to suppress it. You have to suppress the feelings. You have to shut down your feelings, though your body cannot recover properly. So it stays in the stress level. And for example, this tinnitus is a sign of stress. That is in a constant. That your body, in a way, you could say, is constantly in a terror, in a stress mode, and cannot recover.
Okay, what has that got to do with the ears?
Yeah, because it is you have to dissociate from the words you have heard, for example. That drag you.
Like abusive words.
Abusive words. So the only maybe is a rest.
I see.
The rest of the sound of the stress rest. Yeah. But this is what our trauma mechanism try to do. They try to not to make us aware what happened. So it's what the rest, what is left in the body is stress. It's a mere excitement and stress and over tension, too much tension in the body.
Wow. So do you feel that we can, those who are suffering from violence, like if they are adults and they are violent, do you think they can find their original source of where the violence is from?
Yes, of course, clearly.
What can they do about it?
With this method, formulating an intention, formulating a sentence, you can find it out. If you decide, if you want to know more, if there was violence and what type of violence you experienced, you always can find it out. And then you are free from acting it out to others and acting it out towards yourself, even towards others that in the moment are not the original perpetrators. So it's very important because by the trauma, and when the trauma happens, the perpetrator is still part of you. You take in, by the violence, you also take in the perpetrator.
Right.
So the perpetrator is part of your inner system. And then the question is how to bring this perpetrator out again, to make you free from the perpetrator. And this is what we do in our work, and it works perfectly if you want to do it.
Yeah, and it's not easy, is it? Yeah? Not easy.
No, because...
Especially when most of the sources are father or mother.
Because you love them. And this is the biggest problem in this type of trauma, that we love our perpetrator at the same time.
Yes.
They are perpetrating us, at the same time we love them.
Yeah.
And so it's very hard to give them up as an inner representation.
So what is the best way out for a child with abusive parents currently? If they are...
The child, for the child, this little child is so difficult. We have, of course, we have social workers that can have a look at the families and can take the children out.
Most of the time it is very hidden and not, it's very,
nobody
kept in secret.
Outside it looks like a normal family and caring parents.
And most children don't want to talk about it.
Yes.
What's the psychology behind it? They don't want to say my parents beat me or my parents is violent. Why is that so?
Yeah, but that is because the huge dependency of children. They depend on their parents. And even they are given way of taken out by social workers, you never know when they come. If there's another person that really cares for the children, it's not children. So it's as long as you're a child and being so dependent, it's very, very difficult to come out. So
the strong dependency.
So it needs to grow up. In the end, if you are grow up person and have some years of age, but then you can start the inner work, and the psychological work, really to grow up from the child position to a healthy eye, a healthy adult eye. This is the chance we have. And, of course, mostly in my work, I'm working with adults, but they have so much child parts in them. That
can see through the work.
You can see it in the work, and this is what we are going to work on, to grow
Yes,
as an
yes.
adult person
Yeah.
and to develop an adult identity.
Okay, all right. So, what about those who are victims currently? They are adults, they are victims, whether be they the spouse or, or they are adults. What can they do now? Like, can be partners or if they're spouse, they are victims still currently.
Still. And look at your childhood. The key is the childhood. If you're in a violent partnership relation, for example, look at your childhood. You always will find the source of the original source of your violence. You will find it in your childhood. I'm very sure about this.
So would you advise them to leave their partners or to leave that destructive destructive relationship? What if the one who is violent is not coming forward to work on themselves?
Yeah. Sometimes it's necessary that you create your own space to live a relationship in order that you can work on your own issues. But this is somewhat difficult because then you feel alone and then you attract another perpetrator.
Okay.
So it's only take your time. Be very caring for yourself, not blaming yourself, and you should and do that, and pushing pressure on yourself. But take a loving attitude towards yourself, and take your time, and then you'll be sure step by step you will clear the situation, and then find a way. When you then separate from a violent partner, when you're clear, then the violent partner no longer will fight against you because he now sees you are grown up.
Yeah.
He no longer
This is interesting.
can seduce you as a child.
Yeah, it's like when we work on ourselves, and then sometimes the partner can shift also, can change also. Yeah. So, what can violent partners or parents do now? Like, if they know they are violent, they have been violent, and they realize that what they have done to their children or to their partners, what can they do now? Is there anything they can do to compensate or?
I have a lot of respect for everyone who can admit I am a perpetrator, I was a perpetrator, that did harm to others, especially my children or my partners. And I have a lot of respect for them, because it's such a big step to do this. And when you once have seen it and admitted it, then you will go on and you'll find a way to talk with those who became your victim. And if you do everything then you do out of your healthy eye, has a good effect on the others. And then there's no more arguing or struggling. And so maybe they tell you, the others, they tell you what they want from you and what is a good way of compensating. Let the others.
Let them tell you? Okay, that's a good idea.
Communicate and don't set yourself under the pressure. And now you have to, see what I've done wrong. And I have to compensate. This again would be a survival strategy.
And I know that saying sorry or asking for forgiveness doesn't really help.
Doesn't really help. No. Be as honest as possible by talking what you have done, and then the other person will tell you what is a good way of dealing with that.
Okay. So, thank you, Franz. Thank you. So, for those of you who are experiencing this uncontrollable emotion in your life, there is Safe Help now. Email me if you want to find out more about Professor Franz Rupert's work and therapy, or subscribe to this channel for past and future interviews. Thank you.